I got a call from Brian Ross at ABC News, and he said that he had a source who said that I had tortured Abu Zubaydah. I said that was absolutely untrue. I said I was the only person who was kind to Abu Zubaydah. I've never laid a hand on Abu Zubaydah or on any other prisoner. I said, your source is either mistaken or he's a liar. Well, he says, you're welcome to come on the show and defend yourself, which I had never spoken to a journalist before. I didn't know that was an old reporter's trick.
Oh, he was just lying.
He said that that's what he had heard.
So he did have a real source?
Yeah. So I said, I'll think about it. Well, a couple of days later, the president's giving a press conference, and one of the reporters asked him about torture. What about these reports that the CIA is torturing people? And he looks in the camera and he says, we do not torture. Like that. And
is this Bush?
Bush. I was sitting on the couch watching this with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, he is a bald-faced liar. He's looking the American people in the eye and he's lying to us. A couple of days after that, it's a Friday, and he's walking from the south portico of the White House to the helicopter to go to Camp David, and a reporter shouts a question about torture again. And he stops and he turns and he says, well, if there is torture, it's a rogue CIA officer. And I looked at my wife and I said, they're going to try to pin this on me because they were mad that I was the only one who spoke out. They're going to pin this on me.
Oh, this is after you went on ABC, he said this?
No, this is
before.
2 days before.
Oh, okay. So the guy from ABC called you, the journalist called you, said this, and then you saw the president say this on TV.
So I realized Brian Ross was telling me the truth, that he did have a source who said that I had tortured Abu Zubaydah, because that was the plan. They were going to say, look, everybody knows that we're torturing prisoners. Let's pin it on this asshole. He's the one who would never shut up about it. So I said to my wife...
You were the humanitarian.
I was the human rights guy.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. So I called Brian Ross. I said, I'll give you your interview. And I decided in the days leading up to that interview that whatever he asked me, I was going to tell the truth. And so I said 3 things in that interview that just completely changed the course of the rest of my life. I said that the CIA was torturing its prisoners. I said that torture was official U.S. government policy. It was not the result of a rogue. And I said that the policy had been personally approved by the president himself. The president's a liar. And so, as you can imagine, within 24 hours, the CIA filed what's called a crimes report against me with the Justice Department, saying that I had revealed classified information. My attorney, I hired an attorney, of course, and my attorney said...
You had him on speed dial the second you walked out of that studio.
Boy, did I. You can't classify a crime. So...
You can't classify a crime.
Yeah. They said he released classified information. Torture's illegal. And so by virtue of its illegality, it's unclassified.
Yeah, but is it illegal if it's not in our country?
It's
How
illegal.
do you define if it's illegal if it's in a black site?
No, the law is crystal clear. It can't be done by an American or any person acting on behalf of an American.
That's what the law says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the FBI investigated me for a year, from December of 2007 until December of 2008. And in December of 2008, they sent my lawyer a letter called a declination letter saying that they were declining to prosecute me. And then one of the FBI agents said, this was the worst kept secret in Washington. Everybody knew the CIA was torturing its prisoners. Like, everybody at the FBI talked about it. And when they started torturing Abu Zubaydah, every FBI officer at the secret site left the country. They didn't even want to be in the same country while it was happening. That's how wrong they knew it was. So they dropped the charges. My wife and I went out to dinner that night to celebrate. 3 weeks later, Barack Obama becomes president. And John Brennan becomes, well, first he was named CIA director, but then they withdrew the nomination. He became the Deputy National Security Advisor for Counterterrorism. Well, John and I have always hated each other. And he was one of the founders of the torture program. So Barack Obama becomes president January the 20th, 2009. John Brennan asks the Justice Department to secretly reopen the case against me. And they investigated me for 3 more years until January of 2012. I had no idea that my phones were tapped. I had no idea that my emails were being intercepted. I had no idea that it was being followed by teams of FBI agents. And then on January 12th, 2012, I was arrested, charged with 3 counts of espionage, 1 count of violating the, what was it called? The Intelligence Identities Protection Act of 1982, and 1 count of making a false statement. We were never clear on what the false statement was supposed to have been. In the end, I hadn't committed espionage, just like Tom Drake hadn't committed espionage, and Ed Snowden hasn't committed espionage, and Julian Assange hasn't committed espionage. So in my case, they dropped all 3 of those charges. I took a plea to violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act, and they dropped the false statements charge. So I had been facing 45 years in prison, and I ended up getting 23 months.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I turned down the 23 months. They made their best and final offer, right? 30 months, you do 23. My wife and I stayed up literally all night talking about what we should do. And I'm like, I'm innocent. I can't take a plea to something that I didn't do. And I had this idea that, once I get in front of a jury, they're going to realize how ridiculous this is. They're going to realize that I was targeted because of my position on human rights. And so I emailed my lawyers. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I said, we've been up all night. We decided I'm going to turn down the best and final. One of the attorneys calls me back immediately, and he says, put on a pot of coffee. We're on our way over. So I had 11 lawyers. So 3 of them come. And I mean, these are like A-list, nationally known, the greatest criminal defense attorneys in Washington, $1,000 an hour 10 years ago. So they get to the house, and they each had sort of different roles. One was sort of the day-to-day guy. One was this Southern gentleman in the $2,000 suit who was nice to everybody. And then one was just an ass kicker, right? And I liked and trusted him the most. So they're saying, look, John, you're making a big mistake here. And I said, I'm innocent. Well, be that as it may, you really should think about this deal. And then the ass kicker pulls me aside. He gets right in my face and he says, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you think this is about justice, and it's not about justice. It's about mitigating damage. Take the fucking deal. And I thought, see, he knows better than I do. I can't win. My best friend's wife, keep this, it's linear. My best friend's wife has an uncle who was O.J. Simpson's jury consultant. And it wasn't just O.J. He did Patrick Michael Smith, whatever his name was, the Kennedy kid that got charged with rape. He did George Zimmerman. He does all these big cases. So because he's the uncle of my best friend's wife, he agreed to help me for free. So we get him top secret security clearance from Justice. He comes up, he reads all 15,000 pages of classified documents in my case. We had this big meeting. I couldn't even meet with my attorneys at their office. We had to meet at the Justice Department's conference room because it was classified.
Wow.
Yeah, awful. So he said to me, look, if we were in any other district in America, I'd say, let's go for it. We're going to win. But the Eastern District of Virginia, the espionage court, your jury is going to be made up of people from the CIA, the Pentagon, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and a dozen different intelligence contractors. You don't have a prayer. Take the deal. So I took the deal.